James Gunn's Superman quietly gets box office bump amid WBD sale. Well, how about that? Box Office Mojo quietly updated the final box office for James Gunn's Superman, and it's a notable change months after the movie's theatrical run already looked done. The worldwide total is now listed at $624,323,803. So here's what Box Office Mojo currently shows. Domestic, well, 354 million. International, 270 million and more. Worldwide, 600. Yeah. So, hey, things are looking up for, what are you looking at? Superman. The extra money is almost entirely international. Well, you know, the initial story, and it's true that they didn't do as good internationally as previous Superman outings and whatnot. And they go, oh, that's what really hurt it. Domestic, 39,000. Thousand? It equals, for the new numbers. Okay. International, 7 million. Worldwide, well, you factor in the domestic numbers, the new ones, on top of this, and you get 7,639,338. So the $8 million bump is basically an international adjustment. And it's not like nobody noticed. Fan accounts have already been pointing at the Box Office Mojo change as breaking. To be clear, late updates can happen. Sometimes it's delayed reporting from smaller overseas markets, currency conversion cleanups, or final reconciliations, and distributors finish closing out territories. Or after distributors, sorry. But the timing is what's going to get people talking, because the update hits right as Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition becomes the biggest story in town. So yeah, you're seeing people connecting the dots. We previously covered the larger issue that Superman's international run didn't show the kind of staying power you'd expect if the movie was truly breaking out globally. A late $7.6 million overseas tweak doesn't change the bigger read. The overseas split still lands at 43.3% international, which isn't what you want for the launch movie of a long-term DCU plan, backed up by the heads of Netflix and Sony, by the way. Huh? Is this the reference of what Netflix got to look at Warner Brothers books and saw the actual numbers on Superman? But Sony, were they ever in the running? I mean, there was other people pursuing the bidding war. Did Sony get a look at that too? I mean, I guess he's referring to like interviews with Rothman over at Sony. So maybe he's aware of that as well as what Superman did. Because, I mean, Superman got yanked, early out of the theaters. Onto video on demand a lot earlier than usual. Because it's losing, it's sinking in the theater, so it's time to go out and garner what money we can at people who want to watch it at home. And did that. Net Gunn said, well, it's about Peacemaker season. No, it's not. So, it's not like he had to see the actual books and whatnot. But during testimony in Congress, Sarandos and Netflix, Superman was one of the examples he made for why the theatrical window would close sooner than others. Because when a movie's really making bank in the theater, you don't take it out, and you certainly don't give it competition with itself by putting it on video on demand. So anyway, with Paramount now set to take control of Warner Brothers Discovery, the speculation that Gunn eventually walks from DC Studios is only getting louder. Even the public commentary around the deal has started leaning into the idea that Gunn won't want to ride out a corporate takeover scenario. Whether that happens or not, the optics are what they are. Superman gets a sudden overseas bump on the scoreboard right when the franchise's corporate future is being reshuffled. What else might Gunn have in his playbook? Well, the reshuffle just gives it a better picture, I suppose. But on the other hand, it was like, hey, he's making more of an argument to stay the course and stay in for the new bosses? I don't know. Who is the most powerful Jedi? Obi-Wan was pretty good, but powerful. I mean, ultimately, it's supposed to be Luke Skywalker, right? You know, I would think. Oh, they didn't tell me. I'm probably right, though. But then again, if James Gunn were to leave, and they're talking about the politics of it, it irks him, and then he'll leave on that, but it would just be more of an excuse because your DCU has been a failure. It's not doing what it needed to do. And I don't really see Supergirl and Clayface righting the ship for you in time to save it. Man of Tomorrow might be this big smash hit. Then, would that be more than if Supergirl and Clayface do okay, and then you have a big breakout hit with Man of Tomorrow? Then maybe that could be a game changer. But by then he may have already made his exit. I don't know. But the politics thing, keep in mind, they keep going on about Ellisons. Both the Ellisons are big MAGA people. That's only a recent wrinkle, and it might just be a superficial thing. And plus, you stick your finger in the wind, where the wind's going, and that kind of thing. I don't know that it's all that dedicated to it, because there's a lot of leftist things that, Skydance was involved in and stuff like that. So it's a bit wishy-washy there. But in these times and days, for the left, of course, just being in the center is considered MAGA. So, if Gunn is of that mindset, then he'll walk. But his walking at this point is probably not really up to him. I mean, they give him the chance to save face and to say, I'm moving on. I don't, and I mean, to the point that he's insulting the new bosses, I don't know, they'd go for that. But if he gets out of his contract before they formally take over, like Zaslav lets him out, then I guess that's an exit for him to save face on. Yeah. But I don't know, here showing off, well, it didn't do as bad as people thought. It's still weak, but an extra $7 million is nothing to sneeze at, So there you go. But it needed $1 billion. It needed to make $1 billion, because it's not just a Superman movie. If it's just a Superman movie and you were just going to do a trilogy of Superman films, probably would want a little more than that, but still it was within the realm of possibility, and it's getting its sequel. So, maybe that. But this was supposed to launch, the shared universe business, and it was going to be all over the place, all that type of stuff. Didn't really garner the excitement it needed. So let's say he does leave. Where does he go? Well, he could go back to the old job. James Gunn quitting DC, possibly taking over Marvel. So exactly as McCloin said first, now YouTuber John Campea. Well, we're going to have to take this with a lot of grain of salt here. So he's publicly predicting James Gunn won't stick around once Paramount takes control at Warner Bros. Discovery, which Paramount has said is expected to close later this year. Campea makes it clear that he hasn't spoken to Gunn, and this is just his opinion. But he says he's 100% sure Gunn will go to WBD CEO David Zaslav and ask to be let go from his contract before the end of the year, because Gunn isn't working for those guys, and that Zaslav will let him go. So here's the quote. And he says, it's been nice, but there's no way I'm working with those guys, so you can please let me out of my contract, and Zaslav will let him go. So Campea adds he could go back to Marvel. Now, I guess this is just his speculation on this sort of thing, but he says, and I think he's going to end up back at Marvel, and he will become Kevin Feige's heir apparent to take over Marvel after Kevin Feige finally goes. Something Kevin should have done a long time ago. Had he left at the end of Endgame, he would have gone down as one of the greatest genius producers. Now we see he really wasn't all that. See? But he didn't anyway. So when's he leaving at all? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I think is going to happen. So this is just a speculation, you know. That's the roadmap that I see happening here. But there's no way I can't imagine a scenario that James Gunn, because we all know how James Gunn feels about Donald Trump. You see, he's buying this BS narrative that these guys are hardcore MAGA because they put rules in place about CBS being an objective news source. It means it has to have the center. It can't just be a leftist mouthpiece. But guys like Campea want it to be that because he believes that's the center, the actual center. And he'll see that, which is people who don't necessarily voted for Trump. And even if they did, it's not like they're worshiping the guy. But he doesn't see it that way. So he's like, so again, if you're in the center, which means you're someone who probably voted for Bill Clinton back in the 90s, that makes you MAGA. So this is the basis by which he makes this decision. Now, Gunn may, you know, and no doubt he's given a lot to prove that he's on the left, but is he that blinded as Campea is about this and doesn't see the Ellisons for what they really are? And so that says, well, you know, they're offering me an opportunity and to stay on if they see promise here. I don't think they will because I think he bombed pretty badly. But nevertheless, I don't know if this sudden little bump, they're like, well, there's life here. We'll see how the other movies perform and maybe there's something to this. And they decide to keep him there. Or they offer him a different deal. They want him on some other projects and that sort of thing because they think he's capable and whatnot. Again, I doubt it because I don't think his performance has been all that great lately. But nevertheless, if that were to happen, his premise is doesn't matter what they offer him. He's just absolutely not staying. And this is another way for him to save face and stuff. It wasn't that my movie bombed so badly. I'm just not going to work for these fascists, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess he could do that. But if they were to offer it and he realizes, yeah, they're playing up to Trump because they feel they have to. And plus, the woke crap, and Campea is one of these. He likes to pretend it doesn't exist while at the same time championing it. You know, it's just, there's no money in that. That's what really changed the course here. That's why you've got companies merging and collapsing into ruin. There's other factors, the obsession with streaming and whatnot to the detriment of their business models. But good Lord, the combination of that and the woke era just devastated this industry. So whether you like it or not, if Gunn is stupid as Campea, then yeah, he'll follow through on that. Provided there's an offer on the table. I don't know that there'll be one. And so, yeah, he might come out sounding like, yeah, screw these fascists, I'm out. Like it's some big heroic moment for him to leave. But if there's a deal, he might take it. So, of course, Campea says, Trump and Ellison are Donald Trump's little fuck toy. See, you know, he's a little boy. He just doesn't, he's never going to understand, you know, reality and whatnot. So anyway, that's his take on it. But is there some, we did all along, and when Superman failed, and it did, even with the little sales bump it got, you know, that's nice and all, but it needed to do way more than that. And going over it again and again for what he's done lately, I don't see this working at all. And that's the problem where he is. So, you know, it was obviously like that. Yeah, he's probably out, and a reboot was more likely. Whether that means Zack Snyder comes back and all that stuff, but whatever, it's not going to be this. So Campea paints Ellison's as Trump aligned, which previously reported by Variety. You know that, yeah, they're all saying that. That became the narrative. Like they really are. That's not really accurate. It really isn't. You know. So, but McCloy kind of buys it. He thinks this is all like the Superman post they did with Trump as Superman. This was a dig at it or something. I really don't see it like that. So anyway, this is a potential narrative for Gunn to say that, to say, yeah, I'm not working for MAGA, so he splits. So anyway, Campion's Marvel angle is pure speculation, but the logic is obvious. Gunn's biggest mainstream wins were at Marvel, with the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies and producing Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Gunn has existing relationships there, and if he leaves DC in a high-profile ownership change, Hollywood will line up for him, provided it still really exists. And again, Marvel's in serious trouble. Even if Avengers Doomsday is a smash hit, I don't think that fixes it. So getting Gunn back as talent for them, maybe, but his performance on Superman just was, there were good things in it. There were some elements there, but holy crap, did it fall flat in a lot of ways, more than I would have expected. So Campion's roadmap is that Gunn asks out, Gunn exit clean, and Marvel becomes the landing spot as the long-term successor behind Kevin Feige. If Paramount keeps Gunn, DC still has a problem. The conversation becomes, is he staying, instead of what's the next DCU win? And if Gunn thinks the brand is about to get shoved into non-stop political crossfire, quitting early lets him control the narrative and avoid being the guy who got fired after the merger, which is what essentially is what had happened. And he's not getting fired after the merger. He's getting fired because his movie bombed. And then his show really bombed. So, woof. So, McClellan goes back in. He's been told that after the sale, Gunn's out, and Snyderverse is back in play. Well, we'll see about that. Gunn is due to start filming soon on his follow-up to Superman with Man of Tomorrow. Assuming it takes about 6 months to film, that would align with the Paramount WBD deal going through. Gunn recently teased he's in pre-production of Man of Tomorrow, gets released on July 9th, 2027. So there he is. Well, that's not crypto. But anyway, there he is. Hey, we're getting ready to go. It's great fun. So there you go. So will they go back to Marvel? I guess, but maybe I think he'd be sick of superheroes at this point and might do something else. I don't know. Who should be the next big MCU villain? Well, let's see. Galactus was already in Fantastic Four. Maybe they'll bring King the Conqueror. Not happening. Doctor Doom is their next big villain, so that doesn't really count. So you got to go with Mephisto, Like, sadly, he only appeared in that god-awful Ironheart series. They finally bring him in for that, when they could have had him in Doctor Strange or in WandaVision even. And they were going to. I think they tossed that around. It was kind of obvious, but they didn't do it. Stupid. Oh, well, let's see. I'm probably right, Oh, it didn't show up. Oh, well, I am. Because again, if it's Doctor Doom, I understand he's the most popular Marvel villain, but they're already getting Doctor Doom. So, I don't know. Anyway, there you go. DCU to MCU. Could be.